So, what's the value of gold? Well, I learned a little bit more about others' perception over the weekend. Let's talk about it. YouTube Vertical Stacker here, and I had a really interesting experience over the weekend where I purchased a motorcycle and I attempted to buy it with gold. And so I wanted to take just a minute and explain the transaction, and it made me really think about the value of gold and how others look at gold relative to its perceived value subjectively to them, right? Because as stackers in the community, most of us understand the value of gold. We also understand things like spot price and market price. But if you walk around and you ask people what their subjective value is on gold, you'll be surprised at what you might hear. And I've run a couple of tests on my own. I don't have all the data together yet, but it is fairly interesting to see how people feel about it. Some of you have probably also seen a video where there's a guy who sits outside a gold shop and he offers someone a candy bar or a 1 ounce gold piece, and I'm sure it's edited because not everybody can be that dumb, right? But it seems like with the edits, everybody chooses the candy bar instead of the 1 ounce of gold. And then afterwards, of course, he tells them, well, hey, you could have sold this 1 ounce of gold over here for $1,800 or whatever. Be it as it may, I had my own experience this weekend that I wanted to tell you about. So our family is a motorcycle riding family. We love to get into the outdoors and explore trails. We're very respectful of the land. We don't just go cross country. We always make sure we stay on the trails. With our machines, we have motorcycles and ATVs and 4-seat, Wolverines, things like that. So my son found this KTM 450 that he really wanted to buy. And so I told him, well, if you want to buy it, that's fine. You buy it. I'm not, Daddy Warbucks, and I'm not going to spoil you rotten. So if you want something, you earn it. And if you need me to help you finance it, I can do that. And then I taught him some principles of economics as far as interest and taking out a loan and things like that. So we went and we looked at this KTM motorcycle, and it was a friend of his, and it was a younger boy, probably about 16, 17 years old, that was selling the motorcycle. And his dad was there, and his mom was there, and his sisters were there, and they were getting ready to go on a ride as well. And so we shot the breeze with this family for a little bit, and good family. We actually know the family. That makes it even that much more interesting. It's a pretty well-to-do family. They don't have any financial struggles, at least of which I'm aware. They live in a pretty upscale neighborhood and so forth. So we went over to their house, and after we talked to them, we started talking turkey on the motorcycle. And the price that the motorcycle was selling at was $6,400. And so I made an arrangement with my son that if he was going to buy this, I would go ahead and loan him the money, and then he would pay me back with interest. So that's the arrangement that we have. For me, that's a good way to teach kids to a certain extent the value of money, because he realizes that by the time he pays this off, that he's going to actually pay more than $6,400, and so it's giving him an incentive to pay it back as quickly as possible. Now, my kid's a hardworking kid. He mows lawns, he umpires softball games. As a 16-year-old, I'm pretty proud of him for the amount of money that he makes. He makes about $35 to $40 an hour doing this stuff. So, he's not sitting around collecting unemployment, that's for sure. All right, so we negotiate the price at $6,400, and so then I go over to Dad and I say, hey, Dad, I'm going to make an offer to your kid, but because he's a minor, I want you to be in the loop on this. I don't want you to think that I'm trying to pull a fast one on him. And he said, all right, well, that sounds a little weird, but I'll listen. And I said, all right, so here's my offer. I will offer $6,400 in cash, or I will offer all of the gold in my pocket. And the dad kind of looked at me funny, and I rattled it around. I rustled it around a little bit in my pocket, and I looked at the kid and I said, so that's my offer. You can take the cash and we'll pay you $6,400 cash. I have that in my other pocket, or I will give you all of the gold I have in this pocket. And I rustled it around again. And the kid just kind of smiled and he said, I'll take the cash. He must have thought something was up. This doesn't seem right. Is he trying to rip me off or what? So, therein lies the value of gold. And so then I started pulling the gold out of my pocket. And just like I did here, I laid it down on the little table they had in their garage. 1, 2, 3 ounces of gold, 3¼ ounces of gold, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tenths. So 3.75 ounces of gold is what I would have given him for that motorcycle. Now, some quick math will tell you that that's over $7,000 at spot price, right? Worth of gold. So that is one objective way to measure the value of that gold. But this young man and his dad didn't see that value. They preferred the cash. But what's interesting, and many of you are probably thinking this through in your head, is you're saying, well, wait a minute, Vertical, you're not just going to sell these at spot. Even on the open market right now, I could go and put an ad on Craigslist and probably get $19.25 an ounce for these, probably $500 an ounce for the quarter, probably $225 to $230 an ounce for the tenths. So you start doing that math, and maybe it's more like, $7,300, $7,400, $7,500 in value with this gold. So, it was an interesting experiment. And the dad afterwards, he said, "Would you have really given him that gold?" And I said, "You bet. I'm a man of my word. If he would have accepted the gold in lieu of the cash, I absolutely would have given him the gold." Now, what I wouldn't have done is, before he made the deal, I would not have told him the value, right? That was up to him to know. So he thinks he knew the value of cash, $6,400 and less every day that goes on, right? Because of inflation. But he didn't know anything about the value of gold. So after we had signed the bill of sale and after we had completed that contract, I then explained to him what the value of the gold was. And both he and his dad and his mom and his sisters were standing, and they were absolutely dumbfounded that I was going to offer them much more in value than that motorcycle was, than the asking price of the motorcycle. And so he said, "Do you do this a lot?" And I go, "Well, I don't know about a lot, but every chance I get, if there's something that I really want to buy and I see the value in that thing, and I know what I paid for these, because now, see, I can look at this and say, for example, I paid $1,400 for this, and I don't know what it was, but just assume for the sake of argument that I paid $1,400 an ounce for these, and then $375 for the quarter and $180 for each of the tenths. Well, if you start looking at that, using the first in, first out method, for example, the value to these subjectively to me is just what I paid for them. And so that, in essence, would have been much less than $6,400. So I'm kind of parsing hairs here and don't want to get too convoluted about it. But so that's why I was willing to offer over $7,000 worth of gold, is because to me, that's not what I paid for. Right? I didn't pay over $7,000 for this gold. I paid quite a bit less than that for this gold over time. Now, this is appreciated in value, right? It's increased in value if you consider the spot price today versus the spot price when I purchased these items. But that's just how I justify it in my mind anyway. Clearly, I could have gone out and sold these for cash and probably obtained well over $7,200, $7,300, and then taken that $6,400 out of that and given that for the motorcycle, and then I'd have $900 left over. But I chose not to do that. I chose to run this little experiment and see if they understood the value of gold, and clearly they did not. And so I still have my gold, and I figured I would, and really I would have. Had they called me on it and said, yeah, we'll take the gold, I would have given them all this gold. And I wouldn't have felt badly about it at all, because A, they would have taken that risk not knowing a whole lot, and I'm a man of my word. So I look at these things as a market value, right? When I'm doing deals, whether it's for a motorcycle or a weapon or any other type of item that I'm interested in purchasing, I will from time to time offer gold in lieu of cash, depending on the price at which that I bought the gold. And so I think of things at market value. So, in my view, market value is the price at which a willing seller will accept and a willing buyer will pay for any particular item. It's just kind of a contract principle, fair market value principle, or market value principle. We got our KTM 450. We're going to take it out this weekend and have a rip-roaring time camping. Really excited about that. Looking forward to it. We're going to be taking our motorcycles and that. Unfortunately, not everybody gets to go. We have to have some people stay home because they're working, but such is life. So that was my experiment and my experience with gold this weekend, and learning that not everybody understands the value of gold. What are your experiences with gold? Have you done something like this where you've tried to trade gold, maybe more value in gold than, and you could say subjectively and objectively more value in gold than another item was worth? Tell me what your experiences are in the comments below. If you don't mind, I would sure appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. I don't ask for that a lot, but I do notice that many views come from unsubscribed viewers. I'm trying to make original content, I'm trying to make better content, and I'm trying to constantly not reinvent myself, but do things that are a little unique, that are not copycat. So that's my story. I hope you are well. I hope everybody has a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. I may or may not be on again before then. Vertical Stacker, till next time, take care.